All right, so welcome everyone to SAIMA session 3. SAIMA is not Johann's girlfriend. It stands for Salesforce Architects in the Making. It's an acronym which I think was founded before the first session happened. It's an initiative like many other community initiatives within the Salesforce ecosystem to help out others. This one is specifically focused on architects, and although there are a number of developer groups, admin groups all over the world, there is not a lot of good quality architect content, at least on the meetup. So this is one of the efforts from the community. Again, it's a fairly unstructured effort. I was pulled in for this edition. There have been others who have been helping out for the previous editions, and we'll actually make a call out in case you want to help for the future editions. So who are we? Yours truly, I'll be hosting this event. I'll try and make sure you don't fall asleep. And then we have two awesome speakers, Meera, who will be presenting on Salesforce solution design, and Johann will be presenting on a topic which is again very close to my heart, CTA, and what does it take to get to CTA. And at this point of time, if you are actually on your CTA journey, I would again encourage if you can type it in the chat. When is your review board? If you've already booked it, if you have not booked it, when are you tentatively planning to book it? Just so that we know, we will not hold you to it, and we'll not share that screenshot with Salesforce and Suzanne, but it would help to know where people are in their CTA journey. So as I said, this is a fairly informal and unstructured effort. The overall goal is to support each other in preparing for the CTA and in general for the architect certifications by creating and sharing content that helps you prepare. Facilitating small study groups. As I said, we are not here to focus on numbers. We don't need 250 people joining us so that we can brag about it on Twitter. The idea is to have a good discussion, which can happen in a smaller group. And then, as I said, this is a fairly open forum. So any ideas you have on what should be done better or what we are not doing right, please let us know either in the chat or reaching out to Johann or to me as well. Okay, some housekeeping rules. This is not the premium version of Zoom, so we have not, you can unmute yourself theoretically, but we will request you keep yourself muted. We will have two sessions. Ask all your questions on chat, or if you want, you can hold them till the end of the session, and then we will go through them towards the end. We will actually go through both the sessions first, and then we'll have a fairly open Q&A in terms of some of the questions that you have on either of the sessions. We are not perfect. This is just the third session. There will be mistakes, and if there are mistakes, post it in the chat. Don't post it on Twitter, and let us know, and together we'll fix it. And again, as I said, this is a very collaborative effort. So interested in presenting or hosting, reach out, and we will make sure that everybody kind of rotates around it and gets a chance. So with that, I will actually hand it over to Meera. And just to give you a little bit of context on Meera, she started her career as a Java developer, got an opportunity to work on Salesforce in 2008. She has about 12 years of experience in Salesforce. She's handled multiple roles: developer, business analyst, dev lead, and now she's an architect. She says the journey has been really exciting. She has got a chance to work with some Salesforce legends who have enriched her Salesforce knowledge. As a result, she is always happy to share her knowledge with the community. And one thing which she did not tell me, but one thing which I could figure out is she's always smiling. And that's one thing which I really like about her. So with that, Meera, I think you can start sharing your screen. I think you should be able to do it.
Sure. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So let me start sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So let us get started. Thank you all for joining our session. And this is the third meeting, like Johann and Gaurav sir mentioned. This is our today's topic, that is Salesforce solution design, considering performance metrics. Since Gaurav sir already mentioned details about me, I'm not going through much details, but currently I'm working as a Salesforce architect in USD Global Trivandrum. And I would like to say I'm working in the same company for almost past 14 years now. This is my Twitter handle and LinkedIn. You can always reach out to me in case if you have any questions related to Salesforce. I would be very happy to help each one of you. This is our agenda for today. I'm not going to explain or waste our time explaining the agenda, but let us get started. I would like to get started with a background of this session. So recently I was assigned to do some performance analysis of one of our client org. They were facing multiple issues with respect to performance. That is, record save time was high in some cases. For example, when they are trying to create account or opportunity, these are the very common objects that we normally use. And in many of the scenarios, the time taken to save a single record was more than 5 seconds, which is not expected. And the other issue was frequent so-called one-on-one issues on specific scenarios. And the third problem was page load performance. Sometimes when we are trying to load an account or opportunity page, it was taking more than 5 seconds. So definitely we can think like it might be because of the large customization present in that particular org. But on the detailed analysis, we found like in addition to this, they have recently done some changes which is causing this performance issue. They had lots of Apex triggers and workflow rules. And when Salesforce introduced process builders, they moved most of this workflow field updates and Apex triggers to process builder. But how process builder can affect performance of your org? So let us see that using some sample scenarios, and I will be providing different solution options for those. And for each of the solution, then let us capture different metrics like the total time taken to execute that particular operation, number of so-called queries consumed, then number of DMS statement which got executed. So let us capture all this and then find out like which might be the best solution for us for that scenario. So let us get started with my first scenario, the simple one. That is, I would like to concatenate opportunity name with account name when I am creating a new opportunity. As an example, if the account name is account ABC and opportunity name which we are currently creating, if the name is opportunity XYZ, once we save this particular opportunity on save, I would like to see the opportunity name as account ABC hyphen opportunity XYZ. A very simple scenario, right? So Salesforce is providing multiple solution options for this. A workflow field update is the simplest thing that you will be able to do, but you will have also process builder. You can use a process builder. Other option is like you can use a flow, like before update flow to implement the solution, or you can use a before trigger scenario. Maybe I can quickly show you like flow. Using flow for this scenario is something very recently got added. So maybe let me try like if I can show you one flow. If I'm clicking on new flow, right, you will be getting multiple options for creating a new flow. My screen might be a little slow, sorry for that. Okay, I'm going to the new flow screen. And previously we had very less options like you can create a screen flow or an auto launch flow. But you can see now Salesforce has added more options here, and platform event based trigger also a recently added one. But what I'm consuming here is a record triggered flow. So once you choose a record triggered flow, you will be getting a screen something like this, and you will be able to define when this particular action or flow should be executed. And you can choose whether this is on record creation, update, or a complaint operation. Also, what you can define here is that when you need to run the flow, it should be before the record is saved to database, or it should be after the record is saved. Before means it's something similar to a before trigger operation, and after means it's something similar to after trigger. So it's almost equivalent to what we are doing using a trigger. Okay, So I'm not going to explain this in detail because I'm sure like you all are very familiar with workflow field update. What I am doing here is like I'm just checking if the current account is active. If it is active, for the field update, I'm just appending account name with opportunity name. As simple as that. But what I have done for this different solution options, I executed each one separately and I captured metrics like this. If you are seeing on the right hand side bottom, you can see the detail that I have captured. Total execution time means the complete transaction time that is taken by that particular opportunity save. Solution time is the time for your workflow field update action, then number of DMLs that got executed during your current transaction, and number of SOQLs also which got executed as part of your transaction. But how to capture this metrics, that is something I will show you after going through each and every solution option. Second is a process builder. Process builder also, I'm sure you all are very familiar. The conditions are still the same. You are checking if the account is active. If it is active, we are updating account name with, opportunity name with account name. Fast field update flow, I showed you already like how we can create, and the conditions, everything remains the same. We are just checking if account is active. If so, we need to fetch the parent account to retrieve the name and then update opportunity name. And this is the last solution option for this scenario, which is a before update trigger. So if you are familiar with development and coding, you can find this is fairly simple. You are just collecting the account IDs, iterating over the records, and updating opportunity name with account name. Since you have seen all the different solution options, now let us see how to capture this performance details for each of the operation. For that, what we need to do is, we need to enable debug log. So I have enabled debug log already for my environment. And other important thing that you need to notice is the debug level. So this is a custom debug level I have created for capturing all the metrics. I would like to just quickly show like what are the different levels that I have set. For database, it's finest, workflow final, and Apex code also finest. And the important thing is Apex profiling you need to keep as finest. This is because I would like to capture the limits details like the SOQLs consumed, DML consumed, all those details. If you need to capture, you need to keep Apex profiling at finest level. So we have done everything. Let me open developer console. What I would like to show you, instead of simply showing you the metrics that I have captured, one or two scenarios or one or two solution options, I would like to execute and show you like how I have captured the details. For that, like I mentioned, for this particular scenario, I have got a workflow, and let us just compare this workflow and a process builder. For this moment, everything is deactivated. For our test purpose, what I will do, I will just activate this workflow rule. Okay, it is activated. Now what we need to do is we can create a new opportunity. Let me create a new opportunity with just the required details. Opportunity name, let me give it as demo opportunity. Let me choose an existing account. Okay, I have chosen demo account SAIMA, and the other required fields are close date and stage. Let us save this. So our requirement is that once this is saved, we would like to see the opportunity name getting appended with the account name. You can see it here, like opportunity name now got updated with account name. Now what we need to do is, let me open log. Here you can see the corresponding log entry for this current operation. Let me open that debug log. This is the normal view of your debug log. Now, if you want to capture details related to transaction time and governor limits, you need to switch the view basically. Under debug, you can see a switch perspective. And once you select this, you can see an analysis option. Click on this analysis option and you are getting an entirely different view. So this is where we will be able to capture all the details related to your current transaction. If you see the execution overview here, right, you can see the order of execution, like what all actions got executed in your current transaction. And the more important thing is limits. But for a workflow field updates, you can see we are not getting any limits details. This is because a workflow is not consuming anything, like it's not consuming a DML or SQL from your current transaction. So we are safe to use a workflow as a solution. And what else we can capture from here? The total transaction time. This is the total transaction time. You can see it's 101 milliseconds. And this is the time taken for your current operation, just the workflow field update, it is 62. And execution tree and performance tree is giving you almost the same kind of details, but the difference is that execution tree, you will be able to get more detailed view. For example, if you are having a Apex code at the backend, which is iterating through some for loop and all, this execution tree is going to give you detailed transaction time of each and every operation. Like for each of your for loop iteration, you can see the details here. But performance tree, it's like some more higher level details, like it will club together details and you will get the details from a high level. So this is how you will be able to capture the details. Just maybe I can capture it somewhere. Let me insert a table so that just for workflow and process builder options, let us capture the time taken. And then let us go and see the one I have captured already. So this is for workflow and this is for process builder. And what are things we can capture? We can capture the total transaction time. Then you can capture the solution time, that is the time just taken by the update operation, then DML count, and what else? We can also capture the SOQL, number of SOQL statements that got executed. So in workflow, we have seen, let me go back and check. The total time is 101 and workflow is 62. Let me quickly capture that. 101, 62. DML, we have not consumed anything. And SQL also, we have not consumed anything. So we have captured the details of a workflow. Now let us go back and execute, activate the process builder and repeat the steps and see the time taken. For that, first we need to deactivate this particular workflow rule. And activate process builder. Okay, this is deactivated. Let me create a new opportunity now. Again, just populating all the required fields only. Let us save this. Okay, opportunity got saved and it is appended with the account name. And let us go to debug log to see what is the time consumed. Let me open the debug log. Similar to what we have done before, just change the mode, that is change the perspective to analysis. Okay, first let us see the limits part. Okay, not only SQL or DML, you are getting lots of other details also as part of limit statement. And total available means this is the limit of your transaction Request total means how much of this total available governor limit you have consumed. So you can see, you can see like the SQL count is 1 and DML count is 1. Okay. But do you know like a process builder, a process builder and flow, right? Based on the Salesforce documentation, even if we are doing just a simple DML operation, that operation is automatically consuming a SQL and DML. That's why you are seeing one count each. So let us populate that to this particular table. This is just for our comparison purpose. 1 and 1. Now we can go back and check the transaction time. You can see the total transaction time when we use process builder for same operation, it is 363. And if you expand this, you can see, okay, workflow is also, flow is also considered under workflow. So when you don't need to get confused when you are seeing workflow itself here, but the time you can capture here. That is 363 and 317. So definitely you can see there is a marginal difference between a workflow and process builder. Not only with respect to the time consumed, but if you see the DML and SQL statement consumed, it's really high, like a PB is consuming 1 each. It's for a simple thing. So you can think about more complex scenarios when you are trying to implement using a PB, how much it might be consuming. Let us go back. Since we don't have enough time to execute everything, I hope you understood like how you will be able to get or capture the transaction details. So let me show you already captured details from my side. Here I have compared workflow, trigger, flow, and process builder. Execution time, you can see the lowest is for workflow and highest is for a process builder, whereas a trigger and flow is coming in between that. And for solution time also, it's same. If you consider DML, a DML is consumed only by a process builder. This is because of the order of execution. If you, for a particular transaction, right? If you see the order of execution, flow, trigger, both will be getting executed before the record is saved to database. But process builder is getting executed after that. So it's actually an update statement, a second update statement to your database. That's why it's consuming a DML. SQL, again, workflow is not consuming anything, whereas trigger, flow, and process builder is consuming 1 each. Similar to this, right? This was for a single record I executed through UI. And this is a graphical representation of the same. Similar to this, I have also done a bulk operation. Since this is my dev work, I have limitations on number of records I can be inserted, but I think I have executed this for around 100 records, I guess. For 100 records, you can see the difference now, like workflow around 238 and process builder around 810. Now you can see a process builder, the time gap is getting increased. We will say like a process builder flow, everything is bulkified. But you know, at the back end, if you see the debug log details, you can see the logic is getting executed for each and every record separately. And at the end only, basically it is consolidating everything and performing a single operation. So when the number of record count is getting increased in your current transaction, even the process builder flow time, that is also getting increased. You can see a difference or increment for workflow and trigger also, but compared to flow and process builder, it's less. This is again a graphical representation. So in my analysis, based on my analysis, what I feel is like simple kind of operations. If it is not very complex, you can still use a workflow. Salesforce has a note like they are not going to provide additional implementation or additional enhancement to workflows, but it's still going to support the existing operations available inside workflow. Now, let us go to a second use case. So whatever we have seen just now is a before update scenario. You will be able to execute it simply using a workflow or a before trigger or a flow. Now, this is my second scenario. That is, I would like to concatenate and populate child contact country value to parent account. This is a little more complex compared to our previous one. So as an example, if we have a contact 1 with country India, contact 2 with country China, once a contact 2 is saved in account, I would like to see the country value as India, China. That is my requirement. Now, compared to the previous option, right, we have got much more solution options here. I have captured some of this here, but there are many more. Using PB and flow, you have got three solution options basically. A process builder combined with a flow, you will be able to implement. You can simply use a flow, which is part of latest release. You can simply use the flow itself to implement the solution, or you can combine a process builder with invocable method, which is Apex method. And second set of solution options are using after update trigger solutions. You can use an after update trigger or asynchronous trigger. Asynchronous trigger I will explain in detail when we are going through each solution option. And last one is a asynchronous operation. Again, it's using queuable Apex. Again, you can use an add future also here, but compared to add future, queuable Apex is somewhat advanced. You have got much more features, and you will be able to chain actions using queuable Apex. Maybe to understand the scenario better, let me quickly execute and show you like what I want to implement. Let me go to account and quickly create a new account. I'm just populating record field. So my condition is, I'm just checking if the country is active in most of the scenarios. So I'm just populating it as active. Okay, let us save this. Okay, so let us create a new contact. Now you can see the account country is empty here. What I want to do is when I create a new contact with country populated, I would like to populate that country value back to account. Just populate some dummy values. And also select a country. I'm just selecting India for now. And let us save this. Okay, the contact got saved and you can see the account country got populated as India. This is my requirement. Let us go back to the presentation and see the different solution options. This is the one that I mentioned as the first option, which is process builder with flow. So basically, you don't need to go with this option now since Salesforce has recently added a pure flow solution, but for just comparison purpose, we have added this also. Here, I think it might not be clear for you, okay? So this is not complex. What I have done is, when a contact is getting created, here I am basically collecting all the contact IDs of associated account, and I'm passing that as a parameter to this particular flow. So single accounts, all the contacts I'm passing to this particular flow, and inside the loop, it's iterating over all the contacts, checking if the country is populated. If it is populated, I am populating it to a temporary variable. That temporary, while populating, I'm also checking like if that value already exists, because if a country value like India already exists in account, I don't need to populate it again. So I'm having a condition checking also here. Once the looping is completed and I have that variable populated, I will fetch the account so that I can update it, and then I will update the account with corresponding value. This is the flow process builder with flow solution option. Similar to this, this is a pure flow solution. I have shown that you initially like how you will be able to create this. So you can see like when a record is getting created for the object contact, I have implemented. The logic is almost the same that we have seen for a PV plus flow, but only difference is that I have got a get record. Okay, I have got a get record option here, which is earlier we were passing it from the process builder. Instead of that, now we are directly fetching the contacts under that particular account here. And process builder with invocable Apex. If you know Apex development, this is a simple Apex logic, which is actually iterating over all the, you need to always consider bulk operation whenever you are writing an Apex code. So this is considering that I have iterated over all the accounts, sorry, all the contacts I have. Since we don't have enough time, I'm not going to explain this in detail, but it's simple. Like I just collected all the account IDs, processed this, and updated each account with the corresponding country value. After update trigger is the fourth option. After update trigger logic is almost same as invocable Apex, but it's purely code-based solution. Now comes asynchronous trigger. So some of you might have already worked or used asynchronous trigger. It's based on the feature called change data capture, which is the same logic as platform event. For doing this, basically you need to, first thing what you need to do is enable change data capture for the object for which you want to execute the trigger. So here you can see I have enabled CDC for contact, but I guess in a normal developer edition, there are limitations on how many objects you will be able to enable CDC, and it's available for all custom objects, I guess, but for some, but only for some standard objects. So even before you select your solution option as asynchronous trigger, you need to clearly understand and see the different governor limits or different limitations of asynchronous or CDC operation. So once I have enabled the CDC, at the backend, what Salesforce is doing is enabling another object called change event. Since I have enabled it for contact, what it is enabling is contact change event object, and automatically a record will be getting inserted to contact change event. I will show you a structure of that later. And to capture the asynchronous trigger operation details, another important thing that you need to do is enable debug log for an automated process. So I have done that because this is, since this is asynchronous, everything is getting captured under automated process only. Now, this is how a contact change event will look like. So like I mentioned, if we have enabled CDC, whenever you are inserting, updating, deleting, or undeleting that particular object record, automatically an entry will be getting inserted to the corresponding change event. If it is a create operation, all the fields populated in that particular record will be available as part of contact change event. But there is a difference for update operation. If it is update operation, only the record ID and the field which got updated will be populated to this particular change event object. That's why this is very famous, or we can use this easily for integrating with external systems whenever you want to send some updated information to external system. So I'm not going to those details now. And there is a header part and also a body part for this contact change event. And in the header, you can see a get change type. So this says us whether this is a create operation or update operation. And this is the logic. Logic is same as what we have done inside a trigger. Only difference is that previously the trigger was on a contact change event. Sorry, contact object. Now it is on contact change event. And operation will be always after insert. You will not be able to perform anything else because this is getting executed after the record is saved. And the advantage is that once you have a trigger on contact event, contact change event, the transaction will be separated from your current operation. That is, contact save will be getting executed as one transaction, and this contact trigger on contact change event will be happening as a separate transaction. And the advantage is that you will get separate set of governor limits for these two transactions. That is, the field update on account is not going to affect your current contact change operation. You are getting a lot of advantage because of that. And last option is queuable Apex. I keep time check from my side. Okay. I will make it fast then. So similar to what we have done before, here also I have captured the details of time taken and also SQL and DML statement for each of the operation. Here you can see a PB plus flow operation is consuming around 382 milliseconds for total transaction. Flow 312, PB plus Apex around 250, trigger 248. if you check async and queuable, you can see two separate transaction time. Like I mentioned, the first for async, first 144, this is the total time to save the contact record. And the second part, which is 104, this is the actual trigger on the contact change event object, which is created as part of your CDC. You are getting two separate transactions here. Similar to that, queuable also is getting a separate set of transactions. And solution time also I have captured here. DML, you can see all solution options has consumed one DML because it's an update on parent account, and definitely we need to consume a DML. But if you check the SOQ statement, right, you can see PB plus flow and flow of solution. These two are considering 3 SOQs, whereas all other are consuming just one only. So this single is for querying and getting contacts corresponding, all the contacts corresponding to the parent account. But why PB plus flow and flow is consuming more time? I will probably quickly show you that. So this is our flow solution. I will tell you like how it is consuming 3 SOQs. First one is getting consumed on this get record. So in get record, I am fetching all the contacts corresponding to the parent account. This is the same thing that is getting consumed in triggers and also the other Apex solution options. But the second is consumed around get account. That is, I'm fetching account which needs to be updated. And third is on the update record operation. Like I mentioned, in a process builder and a flow, whenever you are executing a DML statement, you are always consuming one additional SOQL also. That's how the additional time is getting, or additional SOQL is getting consumed. Similar to that, I have captured details of bulk operation also. This is a graphical representation. And based upon my analysis, what I feel is if you are still within the limit of asynchronous operation, it's always better to consume async, and it's not actually advisable to use a flow solution for complex scenarios because it's consuming more transaction time and also SOQL statement. This is an analysis summary. That is, if your scenario is a before save and logic is really simple, my recommendation is to go with the workflow itself, because it's not consuming any governor limits and performance is better. But it's always not possible for us to implement our solution using a workflow. So if it is somewhat complex compared to a workflow solution, you can go with either trigger or flow. Trigger means if performance is your major concern and you have bandwidth or time to implement the solution, you can go with the trigger. But the disadvantage here is that the maintenance effort will be high for trigger because you need to write a test pass, you need to maintain it, and if there is some change, the effort is high. But flow, compared to that, the maintenance effort is less, and if you don't have enough time to implement a code-based solution, and with respect to performance, a before flow trigger is always okay. So you can go with that solution also. And if it's an after save scenario, like you have just seen, like on the account, you can, if you are just within the limit of asynchronous, you can go with an asynchronous operation. Else, you can go with a PB plus invocable method, which is compared to flow solution, performance is much better. So a final note, like normally in a unit testing, what you are doing, you will do the functionality testing, probably a bulk testing also, and make sure everything is working fine. You will push it to your next sandbox. But based on my experience, in addition to the functionality testing, you also need to perform a performance analysis like what we have done just now to verify like how much additional transaction time is contributed by your current operation, or the governor limits, like how many more SOQL queries or how many more DML statements is got added to your current transaction. Because we saw like a simple update on account itself is consuming around 3 SOQLs for a flow solution. So how much it might be consuming for complex solutions, and for large environments, there are lots of customization and you can easily hit governor limits. I have got some other topics also, but because of time constraint, let me stop it here, and probably we can meet in some other session with some additional topics. Thank you so much. I know I took some more time, but I hope it is fine with you. and it was useful. Thank you so much. Back to you, Gaurav sir.
Yeah, thank you, Meera. This is a great topic, and it's something which is not really very well understood. It's kind of a lot of people don't really understand the performance implications. I think you did great. So thank you for that. So we do have certain questions in the chat, which we'll take up towards the end. And before I quickly hand it off to Johann, I just want to show one slide, which is the title of this session, which is very, very interesting. CTA, what it takes, it's $1 million question. I think there are a lot of people on their CTA journey all over the world. There are a lot of people who have completed the domain specialization, system architect, application architect, but you never really know if you're ready for CTA until you're quite there. So handing it over to Johann to enlighten us on this amazing topic. Johann, over to you. You're on mute.
Hey, thank you, Gaurav. Thank you for having for this great invitation. First, I have to say, Meera, you blew me away. I saw the presentation before, of course, and still I was amazed again. Thank you very much, especially the last sentence you had. When you deploy something, not only check functionality, but also performance implication and limits, you are so spot on. Something on my to-do list from now on. But something else I want to talk to you about. What it takes to become a CTA. So you all see my slides, correct? Hopefully.
Yes.
Yep. Thanks. You know the whole old Zoom question. Okay. I think since 4 or 5 years ago, I learned about the CTA and I kind of got obsessed about it. About the CTA, and I think many of us are. And I started to watch all videos, to watch all interviews, to read every document about the CTA, and especially the videos about what it takes. Thanks for all the CTA who gave us the insights, but I got so many different answers. You have to have years of experience. You have to be super smart. You have to be super hardworking. You have to be a developer. No, you have to be a business guy. No, you have to be an architect. No, you have to be, you have to know everything in setup. No, you have to know the big picture. Oh, you have to think like an architect. You need to work for one of the big consultancy companies. You have to work for Salesforce. Okay. Thanks a lot for all these infos. This helped a lot. But what does it really take? I mean, what do I have to do to get the CTA? These are all great answers. And then everybody told me it depends. I interviewed 9 CTAs over the course of the last 1 month or so. All of them cleared between 2012 and 2020. The answers I got, it's not scientific. I mean, the sample size was 9 is too small. It's not representative. So the interviews were qualified. But I found something. It's actually not that different. The answers I got have been very consistent across the board, across 8 years, across a very diverse background of people. And I got very specific answers on what classes and coaching did you take? How much money did you spend? Which support did you need to get to pass? Which experience did you have before you went to the board? And how much money how much time did you invest? The answers have been very concise across the board, and I want to share them with you today because there's a sad truth. I mean, I interviewed only people who passed the CTA, and so many people start the journey to CTA, and I was one of them, and have no idea what you get yourself into, like absolutely no idea. And I passed all design certificates, and I thought, okay, I'm ready. You're not, and this is something I also want to share with you. Know what it takes, because there's nothing sadder than people who start a journey and then have to stop in the middle and just cannot finish it and never finish it. And the first one was what classes to take and what coaching. So the first one, CTA 601, it's led by a CTA. It gives you a very first introduction into how the review board works. You get a few hands-on experience, absolutely highly recommended. Do it as early as possible. Almost everybody who had the chance to do it did it from my interviews. Then coaching and CTA support, like absolutely mandatory. As either something like an internal mentor or programs. This is for the people who work at the big firms. Like many of them have internal programs. For example, I don't have the chance. I don't work for one of the big firms, so I chose to go with Flow Republic. They also offer CTA coaching. It's very similar to having an internal mentor. You have to have something like that. And new CTA 602, CTA 901. This is the coffee in the background. I'm getting a coffee now. CTA 901 and CTA 902. I haven't taken the classes. None of us has yet, but take any help you can get. This is the overarching message I want to give you. The CTA board is really, really hard. It's probably the hard thing, one of the hard things all of us will attempt. There's no prize for you did it alone. The only prize is you passed the review board. So take any help you can get. This already brings me to the next one, money. It's really expensive. It depends on your background. It depends. It's at least $6,000 for the review board. It's $3,000 for the retake. Of course, partners get discounts, non-profit discounts, but still. You have to pay for CTA 601, probably CTA 602, probably other classes. Then something like Flow Republic coaching, another $6,000. All the numbers are very rough. All the numbers can change, but something around $16,000 just for basic stuff you have to calculate. It's still a really good investment. I mean, the return of investment for most of us, if we pass the CTA, is just amazing compared to the 16,000, but be aware what you have to spend. Don't start your journey and not have this kind of money on your bank account. Of course, there might be people where the company pays for it. My personal suggestion, this was nothing out of the interviews, is don't wait for your boss to offer you money. If you feel ready, if you want to do it yourself. Because whatever you do, once you pass the review board, you have a positive ROI. And this already, with the company, the support you need. The company support, which we all often think is the most important one, is actually, yeah, it's helpful, but it's not mandatory. There was quite a few people I interviewed who did it completely independent from their company. Some of them were, one I interviewed was a sole freelancer, like no company behind, no big firm, nothing. One was doing it independently from the company because he is kind of a sole admin / developer / architect in a bigger implementation, but nothing like enterprise scale. So company, helpful, not mandatory. Family and friends, absolutely mandatory. This is what everybody told me. You will be spending a lot of late nights, a lot of Saturdays, a lot of Sundays, a lot of early mornings with your new CTA friends in front of the computer, reading another document, doing another mock exam. And the last one, study partners. There was not a single one who didn't emphasize how important it is to have a mentor, study partners, study groups, people to bounce off ideas, people to do mock exams. And now I don't want to lie. Okay, there was one person who did it all by himself, but he might be a genius. So unless you're a genius, get yourself a study partner. It's a long journey and can be a very lonely journey. This is because you have to, there is nobody in your company oftentimes. There's maybe nobody in your city who is doing the same thing like you right now. So find people who support you, who pull you up when you feel down, who challenge you, who ask you hard questions, who give you hard, honest feedback, who also make you feel good when you're stuck. And experience. This was quite surprising. This is the next topic. Because this was so similar for almost all the people besides like 2 or 3. Besides 3. So median is 10 years of work experience total. Not Salesforce experience, not even development experience, like total sales experience, work experience. So even working in a call center or being a waiter, I calculated as work experience. Because for me personally, every work experience is experience. It doesn't matter if you work in a boardroom as a CEO or as a waiter in a restaurant. But Salesforce specific experience was almost everybody had like something around 5 years. There was a few wild ones who had less than a year experience, but these had many years of enterprise experience before. So in another technology. So it seems like 5 years is the sweet spot, 5-6 years. You can do it later, of course. I think that unless you have a lot of other experience from Siebel or Microsoft CRM or SAP architecture or enterprise architecture, below 3 to 5 years of Salesforce experience, it's gonna be really hard. Then professional coders, absolutely not. you have to be able to read code. You have to be a little bit interested in code. Do you need to be being a developer? Absolutely not. I think, also, again, we discussed that in the interviews, and many people agree it's easier for a business person to learn the technical part than for a technical person to learn the business part. You don't have to go into the code that deep. But pre-sales consultant, also pre-sales or consultant or architect, mostly. It's not mandatory, but it's really helpful. The CTA review board is basically like an RSVP or a pre-sales meeting. So if you have experience in this kind of environment, and honestly, I am lacking it, I notice this every time, this is really helpful because it's the same high stress environment. And this brings me to the big elephant in the room. How much time does it take? So we know now, it's kind of expensive. You don't have to have that much experience. You need the support from your family, for your friends and your study partners, and you need lots and lots of time. I cover the time spent after the last certificate. So after you did your domain certificates, your architects, and also your community cloud one and dev 1 and dev 2 and admin and whatever, just preparing for the review board. I thought after I did my community cloud consultant, I'm ready. It's going to be a breeze. No, the lowest, also it depends highly on experience, how much you have to study. The lowest I found was 150 hours. This was somebody with about 20 years of experience as an enterprise architect. And the highest I found was more than 1,000 hours study time. The median is definitely something around 500 hours. So when you compare that to your average domain architect certificate, which takes you, I think, 40 to 80 hours study time, it's way, way more time. And 500 hours, you have to be consistent all the time. And this brings me to my general tips. The first one is failing is part of the experience. Many people will fail in the review board. Hey, we want to avoid that. We want to be as good prepared as possible, but it's very likely that it happened. Don't make this stop you to try again. The same is for while you prepare. You will fail often. And this, you do mock exams, you fail in your certificates, you fail your architecture you design for your company. You fail for a lot of stuff. Failing is part of it. Then the second one is don't rush but hurry. So there's no way you cannot rush your Salesforce review board. I mean, you can help it a little bit, but you don't have to be the youngest CTA in the world. You don't have to be the CTA with the least work experience. You don't have to be CTA this year, but don't drag it out as well. As especially the hardcore starting time, like the time between your last cert, as at the time you do your real preparation for the review board. Most people do it in 3 to 6 months. Some do it in 12 months. You shouldn't do it slower. If you do it slower, you lose motivation and you forget what you already studied. So, and this brings me then to the next one, focus, focus, focus. I'm a sucker for Salesforce trailing, in the sense, in a positive way. I am not allowed to do any more trails which are not strictly required for the CTA review board. And this is what the people also told me. You have to focus on the topics you have to study for the review board. It's kind of a narrow field within the Salesforce environment. Yes, you have to study a lot of different topics, but it's a narrow field within. Focus on these topics you need to know and don't get distracted. Because coming back about the hurry, if you get distracted, you have to restudy. If you memorized all your OAuth flows and then you only do the review board 2 years later, you have to memorize the OAuth flows one more time because you will not remember the OAuth flows. So focus on your review board. Focus on your review board. This might sound hard now. Over your career, over your next project, over any other shiny badges and any other shiny certificates. Focus on your review board. And the next one is practice, practice, practice. Practice mock exams, but also practice thinking like an architect. This is what the people also told me, especially the ones who are not currently working as architects. You can fake being an architect. You can pretend being an architect. Like any RSVP which comes across into your company, volunteer for it. Volunteer for doing pre-sales. Volunteer, or you heard about the new initiative. Nobody asked you to do the architecture. Do it anyways. Do it in your free time. Present it to your boss. Look at the architecture of your current company and think, what would I do different? and discuss it. Of course, do it in your free time. So don't have anybody stop you. Practice, practice, practice. And another way of practicing is preparing presentations. This is something many architects have done. So the people I interviewed, of course, it's a certain bias, but the people I interviewed, most of them are pretty active on the community or pretty active on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, because helping others and thinking about the problems of others, this is what architects have to do. So this will help you to practice. And the last one is have fun. I don't know about you. I can speak for the people I interviewed and I can speak for myself. It's fun. It's Salesforce. It's nerding around. The people I interviewed, all of them still have the spark in their eyes about any new shiny features, about anything new they learn. Some of them have 30 years of experience, and you can still ask them, what did you learn today? And you happily talk hours about what they learned today. If it's not fun for you, it will be a hard way to go. It's a long time. You have to study a lot and have fun. Enjoy this journey. It's your trip. It's your time. And so this already concludes about the have fun. My assignment for all of you is now, first of all, go out, become CTAs. I think something which is currently hindering the Salesforce IT world, this is my personal opinion, mostly is missing architects. We need more architects. We need more better trained architects, not homegrown, but properly trained, certified architects. I think the CTA is a good way of training better architects. But in order to get there, for the next 4 weeks, track how many hours you study to reach your goals. I mean, how many hours do you study outside of your work for Salesforce? Evaluate if this would be enough to reach the CTA. I mean, you got the numbers now. If you have something like 5 to 6, and I know from the survey, you have on average, most of you have 5-6 years of experience in Salesforce. Most of you have almost all certs. Would what you do the next 4 weeks be enough to reach the CTA? If not, find a way to make time, because what it takes mostly is time. Some people I know do it this way. They tell their boss, hey, you know what, for the next 12 months, I will not work Fridays. Fridays is for CTAs. Others tell their boss and say, hey, come on, I leave every day 2 hours. But others are super hardcore and just get up 2 hours early every morning. Not for me, but find the time. So for the next 4 weeks, track your time. And I would be interested, post it on Twitter, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. I want to see how much time you spend on average studying to reach your goals. And this concludes my presentation for today. Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun reaching out, interviewing all the CTAs, and I hope I could give all of you a little bit more insight on what it really takes to become a CTA. And now over to you, Gaurav, again.
Thanks, Johann. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I think whatever you mentioned there, based on the experience of the people who have kind of been there and done that, I think it's very, very vital. And I think a lot of us realize that it's not rocket science, but again, it is something that requires a very concentrated effort. So